Thank you for joining us. This is session 3A when we're talking about measures of performance. So we have looked at all those objectives, and I want to remind you of what those 5 approaches are. Here they are: comparative, attribute, results, behavioral, and total quality. Today we're going to start with the behavioral approach. Now, the behavioral approach really refers to defining the behaviors that an employee must do to be effective in the job, and the various techniques that they have really require managers to assess the extent to which the employee exhibits all these behaviors. Now, the behavioral approach can use any of the following techniques. So you can use critical incident, behaviorally anchored rating scales, BARS, behaviorally observation scales, BOS, organizational behavior modification, or assessment centers. And in this first part of the session, what we're going to talk through, we hope, is to be able to get down to BARS. So let's talk first about critical incident. The critical incident requires managers to keep a record of specific examples of effective and ineffective performance for each employee. Really what that would look like is that every employee would have their own book, so to speak. And so a manager is always going to be talking to an employee about the behaviors that he will see them do. So it is specific feedback on what did you do. Now, it can be that it is set up that it happens every week, or it can be every month, or it can be where critical incidents happen. Something that's critical that happens good, and something that's critical that happens that's bad. Now, because this is specific to an employee, you can recognize that an employee would benefit significantly from this approach. So when we look at behaviorally anchored rating scales, which is what we're calling BARS, these specifically define performance dimensions by developing behavioral anchors associated with different levels of performance. So what we're looking at is, you would see on the screen where you have the 1, 2, 3, 4. These are going down. Now, what each of these numbers would reflect is a type of behavior. So say, for example, if you are going to be scored a 1, you would know that 1 would mean that you are late for a roll call and you have to look for your necessary equipment. If it is you are scoring a 6, then we would say that the behaviors that we have seen you do is that we know that you are always early for work, gathering all your necessary material, fully dressed, reviews previous activities, and reports before roll call. So the BARS provide specific performance feedback, and the dimensions clearly can be tied to corporate strategy. What we saw before really was the attempt to be able to give you behavioral activities that had to do with readiness for work, which is clearly important to this company. So we're going to stop there and go through some of the others in our next session. This is the end of session 3A.